Hey everyone, welcome back to another installment of the RaceDay Scoring version 3 launch. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics of all time, cross country. Thanks everyone for joining us today. If you don't know me, my name is Matt Avery. I'm the product manager for RaceDay products at RunSignup. And today we're going to be talking about RaceDay Scoring, specifically our new cross country features that we recently implemented. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to turn off my camera here. Today we are going to be going over an overview of all the features that we added, diving into the app itself. Roger Bradshaw is on, and he's actually going to be giving you a little bit of a show and tell through the app. He was a major part of the development for this and helped guide us, make sure that we were developing all the right things in the right order so that we could make all of our customers like you happy, so we could give you a nice product to be able to time your cross-country events in the future. So let's get started. If anybody does have any questions, we do have a few folks on the chat box and GoToWebinar ready to respond to any that come in. So feel free to raise any questions that you do have during our presentation. I'm hoping that we'll have a little bit of time to respond to those questions have Chris or James bring them up to me if they are necessary. But they will also be responding to you directly. Yeah, go ahead and use the sidebar, ask any questions that you have. So let's get started. So biggest thing here is, why we're building cross country. The number one reason, in my opinion, is we love cross country here at GiveSignup, RunSignup. Bob is the founder and CEO, ran competitively in high school and college, along with many of our other employees, including myself. To the right is me about 11 years ago, doing my racing at the SUNYAC Championships up in Western New York. And I have a big love for cross country, and I think I was hired pretty much because I ran cross country. Don't tell Bob I said that though. So obviously I have a big love for it. Bob has a big love for it, and so we wanted to make sure that we implemented it well. Second big thing is many timers have at least one cross country race that they score over the course of a year. We want to make sure that all of our timers are happy with the product that we are giving them, and that they don't have to flip back and forth between using the race director for cross country and RaceDay scoring for their other events. So we're trying to just get all those features that Race Director had developed over 30 years into RaceDay scoring. Cross country was one of the next big ticket items. We could take another chunk out of that feature set. Next one was to take advantage of this new team results platform that RunSignup built in 2020. The history behind that is that when virtual results became a really big thing in 2020, RunSignup built out this whole new results platform to be able to better manage teams in virtual results. And they did it in such a way that we could also use it for posting results from external applications like Race Director and RaceDay scoring. So if you happen to use Race Director in 2020 for a cross-country race, you may have noticed that there's a nice new RunSignup results platform for teams. This lets you more easily access individual results from the team result lists and vice versa. It just makes things look a lot better and gives you the ability to do incremental results for cross-country races directly to RunSignup. And lastly, it's just a great community. We want to support cross-country and cross-country timers by providing better tools to them. We really love just the community that is around cross-country, and even though RunSignup doesn't make much money at all off of cross country because we're not processing registrations for it, we love it, and we want to see more fostering of that community so that all those athletes going through the system will maybe one day take part in an event using RunSignup or set up their own event in the future because they had a really great experience with running growing up. So the big question when you're building software is, well, what do we build first? We have a whole slew of different things that we know that are out there that timers need. And we know that cross country has a very unique but consistent set of scoring rules. So we also knew that we had we would have to do a massive overhaul to our scoring system in order to even support the basics. So what features do we start with? Over 110,000 lines of code were added over the course of 3 to 4 months in order to support these main items that we're going to be going through today. So this new, more flexible team and team type relationship, which allows things like, hey, I've got a high school that has members in that high school, but Each of those, members could be in different races throughout the day. Usually you'll have like, one school, but they've got boys JV, boys varsity, girls JV, girls varsity, but you don't want to have to set up individual teams for each of those designations. You want to just say, hey, it's the Gates Charlie High School team, and I've got all these people in it. Now, they may be in different events, but that's okay. So we had to do a big overhaul to the way our system worked to support that. The next thing is the displacement calculations. So you know how cross country generally works if you're watching this, I hope. You want to say for cross country that you score through 5 and you displace through 7. We didn't have any support for that in the past. We did have aggregate team scoring, so you could add up positions or times for teams, but we could not do anything around saying, the members 6 and 7 should displace the positions for other teams. So we now fully support displacement rules. That was a big one. Another one that was highly utilized and we felt was a requirement for our first version of cross country was the idea and ability to automatically switch events based on the finish time of day. So this is, I know that between 9:30 and 10:15, if there's a finisher, that's boys JV. If it's between 11 and 11:45, that's girls JV. And we automatically move people around based on that time of day of finish. Next, obviously, we wanted automatic posting to RunSignup team results. That was a hard requirement. We had this really nice, beautiful results platform that we could now code to, and that took quite a bit of effort, but we got there, and now we have a nice, slick integration with RunSignup team results. Next is the different types of tiebreaker rules that we had to implement. NCAA has a specific tiebreaking rule. It's like a head-to-head type of tiebreaker. If you're familiar with it, it's a little bit wonky. It's a pretty cool system, though. It's basically, if there is a tie, it makes each position of the teams that are tying score against each other to see which one wins that tiebreaker. And then TFERS result submission. So we wanted to make sure that people who are scoring cross-country races would be able to submit their results to TFERS because that's a requirement in many places. And so with it being said, there are a few things that we are still going to be working on for cross-country that we didn't get out in our very first version. So we have a few items here that we're still working on, and they certainly will be there. And I have some general time frames listed out here, but don't hold me to them. The first one is finish links. So we are very close to having finish links integration done. We're working on it currently. So this week, maybe next week. What that will do is allow you to import times from your finish link systems. You could have all sorts of different files with different start times set for them, and we'll automatically map those start times to the scored events you have set up. So you could have a file for boys JV with a 9 a.m. start, and it will automatically map over to your boys JV scored event. We have athletic.net results export within a few weeks. We're going to be adding that. Right now, you'd have to manually build an export file. We'll add a custom report that you could just export out to make that a little bit easier. Another one is adding in the time back from winter fields. Some people like to show that, each in the team list, they want to see how far back from the team winner was each member. So, the first person is 0, the next person was 30 seconds back, the next person was 45 seconds back from the leader, the next person was 1 minute and 35. So they can see the, how tight their grouping was for a specific team. That's one thing that a lot of people like to look at, is how tight their top 5 are. Another one is this cross-country announcer that Roger built. Roger has a really nice, beautiful announcer screen specific to cross-country. We haven't really started working on that yet. This is going to be a further out project, likely winter 2021 or 2022, but we definitely want to do it. It is a bit of a complicated thing, and we have some plans in the future anyway to update our announcers screens in general. So we decided to not work on this one right now. But yeah, the other ones listed above we'll be implementing fairly short term. So if you've joined me in the past couple of sessions, I've talked a lot about definitions and team scoring. So sorry if I am repeating myself to those who have joined me already. but I do want to go through each of these because it's really important to be speaking the same language. So a lot of these type of settings are, they work differently depending on whether you're using it for relay teams or for aggregate teams or for cross-country aggregate. So let's just dive in. What is a team? Pretty straightforward, right? It's just a bunch of group of participants. Sometimes teams are used for scoring, other times just used for social. Teams can have members from a bunch of different registration events. Again, this is what I was talking about before. We now have the ability to say that I have Gates Chili High School with boys JV, boys varsity, and so on and so forth, all in one team. You can have team bib chip numbers, but you're not required to. Teams are always a part of what's called a single team type. So I'll talk about team types next, but before I get there, I'll just show you in the app itself. You can go to participants and then teams, and you can view all the details about a team in this way. These all come down automatically with RunSignup. If you're using RunSignup for registration, if you're just doing an import, it's all possible to set up teams and team types through the import process. So team types are a way to group teams together. Now, the most common use of team types for cross-country events will be large school, small school designations, or D1, D2, D3, NAIA, so on and so forth. So you wouldn't want to have like boys teams and girls teams as separate team types. Usually would only have one team type if you do not have any of these different designations like large school, small school. Maybe just a single cross-country team type would suffice if you do not need to separate out scoring for a single race. Yep, so I went over this before. You automatically set them up if they have RunSignup group type setup. You can also import them in the participant import process. The item, a single event, can have multiple team types within it. For instance, the 9 a.m. race, it may have small school and large school runners competing together, but you want them split out for scoring. You could support that. We have the ability to associate a single event with multiple team types, and that's not a problem. So just think about that. If you do need to ever break out scoring for teams in this way, you can do that. It's possible to combine team types for scoring when the members of that team type share the same event. So if you had in that 9 a.m. race, there were small school and large school teams, you could, if you wanted to, combine them for scoring or show them separately. We support both of those options. Team types themselves have team scoring rules. So the way we did this in RaceDay scoring is that, and the way it's a little bit different from Race Director in that we do allow you to say this team type has specific scoring rules that are different from another team type. In general, it's usually the same for cross country, but it's just good to understand that flexibility is there for you. So in RaceDay scoring, if you open it up and go to the age groups / team classifications tab, in the top, you'll see team classifications bar, and it will list out all of the team classes or types you have. You can click into each of them and view more details and set scoring rules on each of those types. So in this example, I've got a Division 3 type and an NAIA and an unattached type. And if you clicked in, you'd be able to see the details on it. You can see the name, the description, what scored events this team type is applicable to. For this case, it's applicable to all the scored events. And then down on the left are the scoring rules. Now, this is set on the team type, but I'm going to show you we have a nice shortcut to automatically set up all of the team types associated with a single scored event, the same scoring rules. So if you needed to, you can go in and adjust these one by one. But usually we find that most people will just say, hey, I'm going to adjust for this scored event all of the team types and just set them all at once. It's just good to know that if you need to, you can always go into the individual team type and change things. I have seen situations where I think it was the Club Cross Country Championships where they had the Masters had a different scoring rule. It was like, I think it was the 3 and 5 instead of a 5 and 7 displacement. So let's talk a little bit about what aggregate teams are. When you set up scoring rules, you have to decide whether it's an aggregate team type or a relay team type. So cross country is an aggregate scoring type because we're adding up positions for runners on the team and generating a single team score, which we base our team rankings on. So it's just good to know when you're setting up team types, make sure to select aggregate if you want to do cross country scoring. So for cross country, you want to set up, like I said, select aggregate team scoring. Use cross country should be set to yes. Then you need to decide if you want to break out reports by gender. So this is helpful if you have a race start with boys and girls that are mixed together, but you need to be separated for scoring. So if you had a 9 a.m. start and it was like, JV boys and girls together, which we see sometimes, you'll want to use this break out by gender setting in order to say, okay, for this start time, I know I have a mixture of boys and girls, but I want to automatically split them by gender. So this is just helpful. It defaults the reports that get built, so they're always split out by gender. You can do that manually through filtering and reports if you wanted to, but it just makes it a little bit easier for you to do it this way. And a few other things, which tiebreaker method to use, which team time display do you prefer, and I can show you a little bit more about those next. So we have all these different types of tiebreaker rules, different types of affiliations have different requirements, but we think we have everything that is needed here. You can either do the best next finisher, the best last scored finisher for each team, the best cumulative time for the entire team, or the specific head-to-head rules that the NCAA requires. And then we get into all of the cross-country specific type things like the team scoring depth. You want to set it by scored event usually. You want to say that you score through 5 and you displace through 7. That's the standard cross-country setup. So it's probably what you need to do unless you had some other different type of cross-country scoring event that you need to time. Under minimum to displace is a setting that allows you to score teams even if they have not met the scoring depth. And then we also have an option to ghost runners to fill out and complete teams with ghost runners with the same time as last finisher on that team. And you can give a number for how deep that should go if you need to do that. So if you do need to use these settings, we do support them in RaceDay scoring. They're not frequently used, but they are there. So like I said before, these scoring rules can be set up at the scored event level and sent down to the individual team types associated with that scored event, or they can be customized at the team type level. So I showed you a screenshot before where I was customizing at the team type level. I'm going to be showing you next how to set this on the scored event level. So in changing or saving new team scoring rules, we delete and regenerate reports based on these new settings. So this is really important and was a big change in version 3 of RaceDay scoring. A lot of the way that RaceDay scoring works is it won't update things that already exist a lot of the times. It has to get regenerated. So we try to automatically clean up and regenerate reports based on new settings now when you make changes to scoring. And I'll show you that as well. First, if you are on a race, scored events in general for cross country are what you would set up a scored event for each start time you have during the day. So if you have college women, college men, you would do 2 different scored events, and then you would probably also have a cross country generic scored event as well, and I'll talk about that later. But in this example, it's pretty straightforward. There's just 2 start times. Now you may have a big invitational with multiple start times throughout the day, and they're all run to completion as is normal, and you would just have a scored event for each of those start times. So once you get your scored event set up, you'll be able to click this team scoring button to start setting up the scoring rules for each of those scored events. So if you click that team scoring button, you'll be given a whole bunch of different options that I was talking about. Now, if you see this little underline here, if you hover over anything in the app that has that little green underline, it'll just tell you more about it, try to explain the different settings and options you have there. So again, this is all the settings we have that you need for cross country. And in this example, we have set up, it's going to be aggregate scoring. We're going to use cross country scoring. We are not going to separate report sections by gender because again, this is college women. Everybody in here is already in the women's category, so we should be able to go to that. We don't need to split out men from that. The score teams by for cross country is always total time. Tiebreaker rule for this case is going to be NCAA. The team time display will show for the team detail reports, it'll show the average time or total time for each team. And you can just change which type you want to show there. Sometimes you prefer the total, others prefer the average. You can just decide what you want. You can also hide that completely if you prefer. Team scoring depth, like I said, is the 5 and 7 rule. Usually it's set just on that scored event. If you happen to have multiple team types, you could decide at this point to say, you know, well, the NAIA has 5 and 7, but the unattached or like a master's unofficial category is 3 and 5 or something like that. You could do that. Most of the time it's by scored event. Most of the time it's 5 and 7. And in those final two settings that I mentioned before, the under minimums to displace and the minimum number for ghosted runners down below there. So if I were to make a change to an existing scoring setup, I went in and I had already saved everything and I've applied all my scoring rules to all of the team types that are associated with this scored event. If I wanted to say, hey, you know what, now I'm decided that I'm going to change my scoring depth and displacement, RaceDay scoring has to recreate all of the reports that you already did. So you have to be careful if you are, setting everything up and then you've built a ton of custom reports and you have to change one of these core scoring features, like how far to score through. Be aware that we will have to regenerate all the reports, and any ones that you built custom, you'll have to rebuild manually. So we try to tell you this and make it pretty clear what's going on. So if I were to change a big setting, like I'm going to change it to score through 3 and 5, it'll say, hey, I'm going to have to delete all these reports. And for some of them, I will automatically rebuild them, like the finished lists. But the ones that were including team detail reports or team summary reports that were customized or a TFERS report, the user is going to have to recreate those manually. So this is just a warning letting you know what the system is going to rebuild with the new settings and what ones you will have to recreate on your own. And when you proceed to the next step, this is saying, hey, I have all of these new scoring rules. What should I do with them? The first option here is to apply these scoring rules to all team types. So if this event has the NAIA team type, the D3 team type, and the unattached team type, it's going to apply these new scoring rules to all of those team types. So if you updated these team types and went and looked at the NAIA team type, you'd see the new rules that you set up here on the scored event sent down to those as well. You have other options here if you wanted to. You could only add scoring rules to team types without scoring rules. So if one of these team types didn't have any scoring rules, it would only update those ones. Or you could say, I don't want to update anything. You could do that as well. So most of the time, you apply scoring rules to all team types, and it just tells you, hey, all of these team types are going to be affected. Just good to know. So let's talk a little bit more about reports. Like I showed you in the last couple of screenshots, we automatically set up some reports for you in the future when you set up scored events. So for cross country, we automatically build a report with a single team finish list report section within it for that scored event. So when you go and you set up the 9 a.m. and you click save, you're going to have a report for that 9 a.m. start. Maybe it's boys JV. And it will build a special report that has cross-country, it's called the team finish list report section. And that will allow you to publish team results. And it will also include things like the year for participants. It will include the team name by default. If you wanted to customize it, you can do that, but we just kind of do a default report section template that is automatically built for each of these to make your lives a little bit easier. So report sections are what you add to a report that basically has all the result data within it. So you can have multiple report sections or a single report section. When you get reports created by default, it will usually just have a single report section. That one 9 a.m. start, it's just going to do your overall list of runners for that scored event, and it'll include their team info, but it's not going to create a team standings report or anything like that. You will have to build those manually. So when you have a scored event that is of the cross-country type, we know that when you set up the scoring rules for the scored event, when you say it's cross country, it gives you a few different report sections available to you. Basically, there's a team detail section, a team summary section, a team finisher list section, and a T-first section that you can use in the report builder to build out all of these different custom reports that you want. And I'm going to be going through those in just a minute here. So the team detail, it's a ranking of teams with member details shown. So on the right, I'm just showing you here what this would look like. You see that Wiley College got first place, Jacksonville College got second place. We show their team score, of the top 5 finishers, that's their scores added up. We show their average clock time, 28:36. We also show their team type, and then we show for each runner, their placement, their bib, their name, their score that they got, and the clock time and the pace. And then down below, you'll see position 6 there, Marbeck Edgar, she got 23, but she was the 6th runner there. So you can see in the parentheses that indicates that she was used as a displacer for other teams, but she didn't count towards the scoring of this team. So she counted against the scoring of other teams, but not hers. And then you'll see that we said, hey, everybody over 7 shouldn't count. So their score just says over 7. Team summary is a ranking of teams without member details shown. So the only member details we show here is this team top scores. So you'll see Wiley College in first with 38, and you'll see on the right here, they got first, 4th, 8th, 10th, 15th, 23rd, and 25th. So their top scores will show right there for you. It's just a more condensed way to view it. A lot of timers will like to have a summary, and then beneath that, all the team details or the team finish list, which I'll show next. Team finish list, again, it's just a ranking of participants who are members of a team. This excludes non-team members. If you were doing a regular aggregate race, like a corporate team race, you would have the ability to do both an overall report for all participants and also this team member report for just those who are parts of a team. With cross country, it's very specific, and we give you some more details like the year, the team name, and we put in the score, the team score, and a few other things there for you. So this is what it would look like. So if you wanted to add in some more reports or report sections, you can go into the reports area in the app and click Build Report. In here, when you are building a report, on the left, you'll see first thing you do is you select what events are included in this report section I'm going to add to this report. So I'm going to add a college men section, and then I decide in the next little screenshot here which report type I want to add. Report section type, sorry. And so I can decide I want to do team detail, team summary, team finish list, or a T-first type. When you do that, you get to decide and say, okay, well, the college men has a few different team types that are available for this scored event. So do I want to combine them, or do I want to show them separately? So if you want to combine, you would just use Control key plus mouse click for multiple selections in this little area here, and it would combine the NAIA and the Division III runners together for scoring. Now, if you wanted to, you could also just select one of them and then click select, and it would add a single report section for the NAIA, and then click the team detail button again, and then select D3, and it would add another report section for the Division III runners. So we support having multiple sections within a report if you wanted to. It's totally up to you. You could also create completely separate reports if you want to have your results look that way. So RunSignup results. This is a big feature that I talked about before. We want to be able to automatically save team results to RunSignup. The way to do this is to use the auto save feature on the team finish list report to RunSignup for each scored event you have. So like I said before, when you set up all of your scored events, when you click save scored events, it automatically generates all of these team finish list reports. So it'll say, the 9 a.m. star, or the boys JV, the girls JV, the boys varsity, the girls varsity, so on and so forth. It'll create all of these reports for you when you save it. So all you have to do is go to the reports tab and select autosave for each of those, and it will get things set up for you in advance. And as soon as you start getting results, it will automatically post them to RunSignup once they are available. Now, in addition, remember that all you have to do is publish this single report to RunSignup, and RunSignup does all the legwork and creates an individual report, a results set, and also this team report that you'll see in a minute here that I'm going to show you. So in this race, I have a few different reports. You'll see some of them are available for auto saving, and other ones I don't have any of these auto save buttons. So the only ones that you need to publish are the ones that have the team finish list section, and that is the college men and college women report in this case. I have a few different reports that were customized. I may have multiple different report sections within them. So the default ones are the ones that I really want to publish, the college men, college women. You would just go ahead and click auto save settings and walk through the screens there. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. You just enter in how frequently you want them to publish. If you used RunSignup or RaceDay scoring in the past with autosaves, you should know what to do. But that will automatically push the results as soon as they are available. And they would look something like this. So on the left would be the individual results, and it would just show here all of the runners listed out. And on the right, it would show the team results if you click the team header. And it would show all the details about each of the teams, their finishers, their scores, and so on and so forth. And you can click into each of the teams to view more details about that team. So this is UT Tyler. I can see the place, their score, their clock time, and it will show all of the runner info along with their year and everything there. And you can also click into each runner, to view more details on that specific runner as such. So we have a really nice results platform now with RunSignup for cross country. So let's talk about T-first results. Similarly to RunSignup results, you can publish a report with a single T-first report section to T-first. Basically, what you have to do is set up a single report with a T-first section within it, and then you'll be able to use the T-first publishing system. So you just click the T-first publish settings, log into T-first, map all required fields. Once set, you use the T-first publish button to submit results to T-first. Now, the difference between T-first results and RunSignup results is that RunSignup results are incremental. They're meant to be used throughout the day. You set them up, and as results come in, they get posted to RunSignup. T-first is more meant to be once you got everything finalized at the end of the day, you do a one-time push to T-first. We don't really support pushing to T-first, over and over throughout the day. It's really meant to be, hey, at the end of the day, you got everything done, all the adjustments made, and so on and so forth. We're now ready to submit our final results, and you just do that once. So if you go back here, at the very bottom, I have a T-first report. I would just go ahead and click T-first publish settings there, and then publish once they're ready. And we have some setup screens for T-first. You have to fill out all sorts of different information, like the start time for this race, the course conditions, the weather, the wind, the temperature, and so on and so forth. So you have to make sure you fill all of these fields out. And you have to actually log into T-first, so you make sure that you pick the correct meet and so on. And Roger will show that off a little bit more in his show and tell in just a few minutes. Another big feature that we added was this automated event switching using data actions. So data actions automatically run in the background and perform some action based on some rules you define. So we've had the system for a while. We're working more on adding new things to it. But for now, what we did was we enhanced the ability to do this automatic event switching so we could use it for cross country. So it's common to have all runners in a generic cross country event when they get registered, and then they are distributed out to their actual scored events based on the finish time of day. So a lot of times, as you know, coaches won't tell you who's going to be JV and who's going to be varsity. They just know that they've got a bunch of runners. So what you'll do is you'll import everybody into the cross-country event, and then you let the data action switch them to the event that they're supposed to be in, because you know that the boys 9 a.m. race, all people finishing between 9:30 and 10:15 or whatever times are, those should automatically get moved over into that scored event. Big thing to understand with data actions, they apply to all future times. If you did have to adjust something after you've already collected reads, you would have to go back into raw reads and then recalculate them if you wanted to apply rules to existing reads. They only affect things going forward. So it's really important to understand that. You can't set it up and expect your existing results to get moved around. You have to basically regenerate all your results so that it will get all of the events it needs to basically switch all the participants around the way it's supposed to. So if you go down to data actions in the bottom left there, you'll see I have a couple in this race setup, set event to college women and set event to college men. These are my rules that will look at raw reads and see, hey, I've got a raw read at this time. I need to move this person into this event. So at the bottom of the data actions page, there's two sections, the action trigger and the data to change. The action trigger is saying, okay, what is going to cause this action to fire? In this case, we want a raw read to cause it to fire, and it's going to be editing something. So I set that subtype to edit. And I'm going to say that to select the raw reads to make this happen, I'm going to use some raw read filters and say that there is a timestamp greater or equal to the race date at 8:20, and then less than or equal to 8:46. So all times in between 8:20 and 8:46, those participants associated with those times will automatically have something happen to them, which I'll define below. So the data to change is saying, okay, now that I have selected some reads based on my filters above, I'm going to say that I want to change the event for each of the people associated with the reads that I found to college women. So this will say all of the reads that come in between those two times, find the participants for them, and then change their events to something else. So we have a pretty flexible system. You can do all sorts of different things with this. You can change people's corrals based on the raw read time of day. If you're doing a triathlon and you have a corral check mat where you're just having people walk over the swim start, and you're saying, okay, I know all the people that cross that mat between this time and this time should be put in wave 1. You could also use this system for that. So I think we are about ready to pass this over to Roger. And he's going to do a little show and tell in the app itself. And then we will have hopefully a little bit of time for questions if we have any. So let me try and pass this over to Roger. All right.
Okay, are you seeing my screen and can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. So this is this same race. Can't remember the timer that sent it to us, but we probably scored it about 500 times now. So here we are for the 501st. So I've set this, I have this race at the state now where it would typically be, where you've, we expect in a large percentage of cross-country races, you've probably loaded participant data from a spreadsheet. So that's where we are right now. We've got the participants loaded. It's not an RSU race yet for results, so I'll show that in a minute. We have added a couple extra data elements, TFRS ID in a school year. So a little bit better than what you had in Race Directory. You had to use optional data fields for those. We actually have specific fields designed for those pieces of information. All right, so going to create this race at RunSignup. Actually going through all of this just to show you how easy it is. You need a couple other pieces of info here. Essentially, that's it. We just so this race is now an RSU race. Matt was talking about data actions. I have this is the first one that we have this created now for basically any finish read between 8:20 a.m. and 8:46 is going to be this event of college women. And generally this feature is much more applicable to high school for varsity, junior varsity, when coaches just don't want to declare until the very last minute. And then I'm going to show you how you create these. These are raw read filters, so we're doing it based on a timestamp. So for the men, all of the men are going to start at 9 o'clock. So their finish is going to be sometime after 9:10 is what we'll say. 091000. And for that we want, so here's what we're looking for. And we don't really need an in-between here, because any time after this is enough to define this. So we want anyone finishing after 9:10 a.m. to be assigned to college men. And back to participants, right now we don't have anyone assigned to these scored events. They're all hanging out there in this event that we'll really never have results for, called cross country.
Hey, Roger, just one thing. I noticed yet we didn't have, the sync was disabled still. I wasn't sure if you meant to uncheck that one.
Oh.
And for those getting that updates on a weekly basis as we pull out software, that will actually be changed this week as a default. So stay current.
Okay. All right, so now let's see. So under reports, when you set up scored events, certain reports will be created for you, but you know, boy, we're getting some sync failures here. All right, so I'm gonna build the report that you may want to use just for local reporting. And essentially, we're going to be reporting on college men and college women. And so this is fairly similar to what you would do in Race Director for, you know, these sections. What's different about RaceDay scoring is essentially you're going to be doing all of this in advance. And so you'll have a few more mouse clicks in configuration before the race, in much less activity. You're just basically going to watch the system work as you're executing the race. And generally, timers like some combination of these three reports. Often it's show me the summary and the finish list, and also the summary for D3 and the finish list for D3. So I'm just going to set that up for right now. You would do similar setups for the men, and essentially, yeah, I might as well do it. So team summary for NAIA, and team finish list for NAIA, and team summary for D3, and team finish list for D3. What I like to do is kind of shrink these just to make sure. Yep, I've got all the sections I want. It's men and women, both summary and overall for each division, and that's all we should need. All right, I'm not understanding why my sync is failing, because it never did in any of my trials of this. For not sure if results publishing is going to work because of this sync failure we're having right now, but to build what we need for RunSignup, essentially everything that gets published is driven from finish lists. So if my report buildup has only finished lists in it, and I save this, that's when we'll see the publishing options. So I'm gonna build the same thing for the men. So team finish list for NAIA, team finish list for Division 3. Save this, and now we've got auto saves. So we'll set up these auto saves to go to RunSignup. Very similar to publishing that you've done for non-cross or non-team races or non-cross country races. So now we're all set to do publishing. We'll do, as Matt was saying, TFERS you would really do post-race. So let's just keep in the nature of this. We're in the cycle. So now we're ready to actually score the race. So we'll start the connector. And we should see reads come in pretty soon here. Starting to see the results come through. All right, we should have enough to see reports. Sure enough, here's the team summary for the NAIA and the team finish list. And same thing for Division 3. All right, let's see if these actually went to RunSignup. Perhaps not because of my sync problems. Oh, there, we do have results. Oh, but everybody's incomplete because we're having some issues with syncing the teams. You know, why did the 5 practice sessions I did go perfect? We're not.
Goes Roger.
So anyway, you know, just to keep this a little bit brief, you know, TFERS is obviously important to anyone that's doing college or NCAA. It's a requirement. So just to make a couple other, so here we're gonna, the thing about TFERS is it has to be done in a single integration. So you can't do just the men's race and later on do the women's race, because the way TFERS works is when you send TFERS results, it's got to be the full package because it's always going to replace what you last sent. So no problem if you want to send it after the men's race, but then after the women's race, because I think that was first, but then after the men's race, you would have to send all of the results, men's and women. So basically, you'll probably always set this up to contain sections for every section that you want at TFERS. So we want to send both college men and college women, and we want it separated by team class. So there's a section for the NAIA women, another section for the D3 women, a TFERS section for the NAIA men, and a TFERS section for the D3 men. And again here, just to make sure, yeah, these are the 4 sections that we want sent to TFERS. I'm going to turn this off for right now. So back to reports, and anyone with experience with TFERS will kind of get what's going on here. You put in you're going to be asked for your TFERS login and password. And then when that happens, you'll be presented with your list of races, and you would select the race that you're scoring at TFERS. Then you got to fill in all of this info that they require. This is in Fremont. Bear with me here. We're going to try to make some of this more automated. Like if we picked a women's scored event, when every finisher was female, we'll try to set this for you automatically. And in addition to the distance, you know, we do know the distance, so we'll try to get this filled in for you automatically. That'll be a feature coming. All right, so that's saved. So as Matt was saying, there's nothing automatic about TFers. It won't happen until you hit this button to publish. Then when you do, you'll be given a prompt here to view those results at TFers. So now we're switching to the TFers website. And here's all of the, yeah, and actually it takes a while to refresh sometimes. So this is all we're seeing right now. But if we come back later, we'll see all the results. All right, Matt, I think that covers what I wanted to demonstrate kind of in real life here.
Cool, thanks so much, Roger. Let me try and take back. There we go. All right, so yeah, I think we are about ready to wrap up here today for cross country in version 3 of RaceDay scoring. If there are any questions that you guys have, feel free to plug them in now. We'll see if there's anything that we need to bring up. James, was there anything that you wanted to bring up from the comments that were already answered?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right, so it looks like it's pretty quiet. So if we're switching over from Race Director to RunSignup, we're getting closer, but not there yet. Totally depends. They're asking whether you know, you want to move over from Race Director to RaceDay scoring. We think that the features that we have now in RaceDay scoring are enough for most people. Maybe there are a few things that you are waiting on in this list, but we think that for the most part, most timers are pretty good with the current features that we have here. So being able to do displacements, the automatic switching of events based on finish time of day, the posting of team results, the TFers results, we think that's about 90%. So there are some things that we're still working on. Finish links is going to be next week. Have a few other things, but these are just kind of nice to haves. So we think it's about good enough for 90% of the cross country timers out there, but it's up to you whether or not you want to try it out, move over. One thing I will say is I highly recommend trying it and seeing how it works and giving us feedback on what isn't allowing you to move forward with trying out RaceDay scoring for cross country for all of your meets. So if you want to learn more about RaceDay scoring, we have a few areas you can go to. So go to help.rdScoring.com. We have a bunch of guides there that we're constantly adding to. But the best thing you can do is use the help in the app itself. There's a little question mark in the top right you can use to get help. That will submit the race that you're working on to us in support, and we'll be able to assist you with any questions you have. We can see the setup at the time you submitted, so we can help you out, troubleshoot any issues you have, anything like that. We're very responsive. Myself, Roger, Kevin, Lai are on there, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you wanted to do a one-on-one session, Chris McDonald is your man. He does our training for all of our RaceDay products. He can give you a really good overview of best uses of all of our different RaceDay products, including the check-in app and RaceDay scoring. And so what he will do is basically walk you through a scenario that you bring forward. So we recommend, if you do want to do a one-on-one session with Chris, schedule a slot and make sure that you come to that with a predefined kind of race scenario in mind. So think like, I had this race that I scored last year in Race Director and I want to try it out in RaceDay scoring. Chris will show you how to set it up and rescore it for last year's event, or what his thoughts are on how you should configure it for an upcoming event. So it's a really good option for you if you wanted to have a more of a one-on-one. Feel free to do that. Chris does this all day, every day, and he's really good at it. He's a timer himself, so he knows all the problems that you run into using race day scoring. So that is all I have for today. We are just about on time, so I think we're all set in questions as well. So if you are interested in race day scoring, we are constantly doing these Tuesday webinars at noon, Timer Tip Tuesdays. So we'll continue doing them in the future. We have a few coming up that are going to be more targeted and shorter. So we've been doing these kind of version 3 updates lately, the past couple of weeks, but we're going to get back into the nitty gritty and talking about one specific feature going forward again. So hope to talk to you again soon. Hope you all have a nice rest of your afternoon. Thanks again. Bye.